Those are the pictures that are coming in. The first pictures on India today of that army chopper which crashed in Kishtwar, Jammu and Kashmir. This chopper that belonged to the Indian Army crashed in a village in Kishtwar district of Jammu and Kashmir. At least 3 persons were said to be on board this ill-fated chopper. But the update which is coming in right now from sources within the army, officials telling India today that one army ALH Dhruv helicopter crashed near Kishtwar, Jammu and Kashmir. The pilots have suffered injuries but are safe. That is what the army is confirming, that the pilots of this aircraft, there were 2 pilots, we believe, who were on this aircraft, on this chopper, I beg your pardon, who in fact have suffered injuries because of the crash but are safe, is what the army is saying at the moment. Those first images of that chopper crash in Kishtwar, Jammu and Kashmir, you can see that the local residents and villagers in the area seem to have rushed to the site immediately. They seem to be the first responders at the site, but the army there confirming the news that the pilots have suffered injuries but are safe. This was an army ALH Dhruv helicopter which crashed near Kishtwar, Jammu and Kashmir. More details, of course, are awaited. The Indian Army is, in fact, gathering more details from the location as we speak. But those pictures, as you can see, of the crash which took place in Kishtwar, Jammu and Kashmir. But the Army, fortunately, has confirmed the news that the pilots of this chopper are safe. They have suffered injuries because of the crash. What led to the crash, of course, will be a matter of investigation that the Indian Army will conduct, but they are confirming the news, the fortunate news, that the pilots are safe. They've suffered injuries, but they're said to be safe at the moment. You can see those pictures that are emerging. These are just the first pictures that are coming in at the moment. The crash just took place a short while ago, and you can see that the local residents, villagers in the area, in the adjoining areas, seem to have reached the spot, rushed to the spot to the rescue of the occupants of that chopper immediately. And it's possible that because of those first responders, the pilots may have been, in fact, extricated from that chopper, the mangled chopper, as you can see over there, completely broken down as a result of that crash, which in fact took place in Kishtwar. They probably were able to immediately respond to the situation, the locals who reached the area, the site of the crash, and probably were able to bring out the pilots of the chopper immediately and take them to safety before any sort of tragedy took place. The Indian Army there confirming now officially that the pilots of the chopper are safe. They've suffered and sustained injuries, but they are safe as we speak. My colleague Abhishek Bhalla is joining me from the newsroom. Abhishek, what are the details that your sources within the army are sharing?
Well, Paulami, very sketchy details as of now. We have a confirmation that there has been a crash in the Kishtwar region, and it was the locals who raised an alarm when this crash took place. Most of the area here is densely forested. There is also a civilian population around these places, and that's when the alarm was raised. It's an advanced light helicopter, Dhruv, of the Indian Army, which is used extensively by the forces in these areas. It's still not clear how many people were on board. There have been injuries to those on board, but still not confirmed as to how many were on board and what the status of their injuries is as of now.
Okay, but the army, of course, Bhala, they're confirming, Abhishek, that in fact the pilots are safe at the moment. They have sustained injuries, but the occupants of that chopper are safe?
Well, Paulami, they've certainly sustained injuries. Now, what is the extent of these injuries is still being ascertained. You know, the initial teams are trying to ascertain what exactly has happened. The police is also on the spot giving out initial details, but at this point of time it would be difficult for us to speculate and give out exact details of what the condition of those who are flying in this helicopter is. But yes, evacuation is at this point of time, and rescue operation at this point of time is the priority, and that's what the authorities are looking at.
Okay. Abhishek, have they been able to, of course, take the pilots out and immediately rush them for medical attention at the moment, as far as this chopper wreckage is concerned?
Well, rescue is going on, and you know, every time there is a crash such as this, obviously the priority is at that point of time to ensure that the rescue happens in time, and those with injuries can be taken for medical aid. Now, there have been a series of crashes of late involving helicopters, especially the ALH. There was one in Kochi in March, if I can recall correctly, where a crash had taken place. A little earlier, it was the armed version, the Rudra, that had crashed in Arunachal. There were casualties at that point of time. So the authorities are looking at this as well. You know, what causes these crashes, and whether there are technical snags in the helicopter that has resulted in these crashes, or whether it was some kind of a human error.
Okay, so that is of course a matter of investigation at the moment. Abhishek Bhalla, stay on with us. Sunilji Bhatt is also joining us at the moment. Sunilji, if you can tell us what you're learning from your sources on the ground in Kishtwar at the moment.
Well, Polemy, our sources have confirmed that it was an Indian Army chopper, Dhruv helicopter, and it crashed in Kishtwar district of Jammu and Kashmir. What was the reason behind this crash is yet to be ascertained, and as Abhishek was saying, that right now the priority for the army and the administration is to ensure that those who have been, injured are rescued and are taken to the hospital for treatment. So far, we have learned that 2 to 3 people were on board. What is their exact status is yet to be known, because there has not been any official statement from the army yet. So we are awaiting an official statement from the army. But it's a tragic incident that has taken place. And Polemy, as Abhishek was saying, that in the recent past there have been many such incidents where chopper crashes have taken place. Inclement weather could be also reason behind today's crash, because it has been raining here in Jammu and Kashmir for last 2 3 days. So whether that was the reason is yet to be known. But right now the priority for the administration and as well as for the army is to ensure that people who are on board are rescued, and they are taken to hospital for treatment. We don't know the exact identity of those who are on board, and their status of their injuries. So we will have to wait for an official statement. Details are very sketchy right now, since it's a very far-flung area. That too in a district like Kishtwar, which is a hill district. So it will take some time before more details emerge in this particular case. But what we have learned from our sources that the moment this crash took place, there were locals who, immediately rushed to that spot, and they are trying their best to, rescue those who are there, in that crash chopper, if there are survivors. And hopefully, we hope that those who are on board survive. But an official statement is awaited as far as this particular crash is concerned. Follow me.
Okay, Sunilji, also can you describe for the benefit of our viewers the area where this crash took place?
Well, Polemy, this is an area, which is surrounded by dense forest and huge mountains. And as far as this particular spot is concerned, there is no road connectivity to this particular spot. So you can understand that it's going to take time for the authorities to, give out more details in this particular crash. There are reports that this chopper, took off from Udhampur earlier this morning. However, it's yet to be confirmed by the army. So we are talking to our forces in the army. They are themselves gathering the information about this particular incident. So far, the administration has rushed some teams to this particular spot, and the priority is to take the injured to the nearby health facility as soon as possible. Follow me.
Okay, Sunilji, of course, they're telling us what his local sources are telling him at the moment. In terms of rescue operations, Abhishek, what can you tell us? What's going on the ground at the moment? What are your sources within the Indian Army telling you?
Well, follow me. As far as the rescue is concerned, it's being carried out both by civilian authorities and obviously the army will be involved because it's an accident, it's a crash that involves their own helicopter. But in instances like this, where the spot is a remote area, reaching there is not easy. The first responder in most of these cases is actually the civilian authorities, and at this point of time, be it the local police or other civil administration officials, they are taking stock of the situation, ensuring that the rescue happens swiftly and those wounded can be given medical attention. One big challenge every time such a crash takes place is the terrain. These places are cut off from the mainland, if we can say so. The access to these places is extremely difficult, as visuals here show. There is some kind of a water body where the helicopter has crashed. So that's always a challenge. Access to these points is a challenge. Roads are not in a very good condition. Thickly forested areas, dense forest, mountainous regions. So those challenges always come in the way of rescue operations.
Okay, so there will of course be challenges on the ground. The local police, we believe, Sunilji, has also reached the spot in order to aid the rescue operations, though you said that it could possibly take some time for more aid to reach the spot, given that it is a very difficult terrain and there is no road as such which leads to the area where this crash has taken place.
Absolutely, Paulmi. I spoke to some locals there. They said that there is no road connectivity as far as this particular place is concerned where this crash took place. So it's going to take some time before, the teams arrive there. But our sources have confirmed that there are some local people and officials associated with some local authorities. They are there, and locals are also there because the moment this crash took place, the locals who were there, they immediately rushed to that spot and they are trying to rescue people, but we are yet to get information about this rescue operation because this area is located, in dense forest area, and it's very difficult for advanced teams to reach this particular spot. So we will have to wait for some time before more information comes as far as this particular incident is concerned.
Okay, Abhishek, do we know anything as of yet as to why this crash took place? What happened?
Well, there could be many reasons, Paulami. One could be the weather. It's been raining in the area, and visibility sometimes is a problem. As I said, that these are thickly forested areas, and if the weather gets bad, it can be challenging, especially when there is dense forest around. So that could be one of the reasons. The other, of course, could be a technical snag within the machine, but all this, is a matter of investigation. It's not something that can be pinpointed at this point of time. The standard operating procedure for these investigations is that there's a court of inquiry that is ordered immediately after such instances. The authorities who are carrying out the court of inquiry visit the spot. They look at all technical aspects associated with the crash, and that's when a comprehensive report is filed, which can pinpoint what the exact reason, cause of such crashes is.
Okay, but is there any confirmation as to how many people were on board the chopper?
I'm afraid, Paulami, there isn't any confirmation how many people were on board. What we've heard is that the pilots are safe, but obviously when a crash like this has taken place, there will be serious injuries, and we can say that yes, those on board have sustained injuries, and at this point of time, the priority is relief, rescue, and ensuring medical aid to those injured.
Right. Abhishek, stay on with us. Former Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur is joining us over the phone line. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to India Today. Some very unfortunate news that's coming in from Kishtwar district in Jammu and Kashmir, where an Army ALH Dhruv helicopter has crashed. Very sketchy details at the moment, sir. We don't know how many persons were on board the aircraft. We're only told by the Army that the pilots who sustained injuries are safe.
Pallavi, I just heard the news myself and read it on the media. This is indeed very sad, and I really don't know what to say at this stage because, as your correspondent rightly said, it is very early news, and one can only hope that the crew and if there are any passengers, they are safe. That's all one can say at this stage, and I don't think it would be right to conjecture what could have happened.
Okay. So also, you're saying, of course, it won't help to conjecture what could have happened, but there could be multiple reasons. If you could give us a sense of the lay of the land. This, of course, my colleague was pointing out from Jammu and Kashmir, is a very densely forested area. Road connectivity is lacking in the area where we're talking about.
The reports say that it's happened in Kishtwar area. So yes, Kishtwar, the valleys are deep, heavily forested, and once again it depends whether the valley has any roads or not at that where the accident has happened. So having flown extensively in that area, what generally one can say is that Kishtwar is heavily forested and with hills, which makes rescue that much more challenging. But I'm sure the helicopters would have got airborne from Udhampur and from Jammu or from wherever they are nearby available to go to that area and look for survivors.
Right. Abhishek, my colleague, sir, he's also joining us live at the moment. Abhishek, you were, of course, mentioning, and you could possibly take that question with former Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur. You were mentioning that there have been some incidents in the past which involve ALHs.
That's right, and in fact the Navy had grounded their fleet after the last crash that took place in Kochi. AVM Manmohan Bahadur, sir, can you give us an insight into why such crashes have taken place? Is there a big concern about these crashes specifically involving the ALH helicopters, and that's exactly what prompted the Navy to ground their fleet?
It was not just the Navy, it was grounded all across, the Air Force, the Army, the civil side, Coast Guard, and checks were carried out. And what I understand is that after the checks, the aircraft have got airborne, have been cleared. And when these checks are done, especially after, it was a tri-service court of inquiry which the Navy held, so that's a very deep inquiry. So they would have found out what was the reason, if any, and come up with remedial measures. The fact that this accident has happened now, I request that no conjecture be done and be related with earlier accidents, because it could be anything. It is too early to say. It is not really right to sort of point a finger at the fleet or at the machine. So just let's wait.
That's right, sir. We've not been speculating ourselves. In fact, we are staying away from any kind of conjecturing, any kind of speculation. A rather unfortunate incident once again that has happened, and we've been telling our viewers that very sketchy details have come in till now. All authorities looking at various angles. Sir, can you just give us an insight into what the standard operating procedures are when a crash like this takes place? What are the priorities for authorities on the ground?
When the aircraft gets airborne, he has filed a flight plan. So his estimated time of arrival, the ETAs are known at various helipads. That is, if he was doing this hopping flight. We don't know what a flight plan is, but there would be an ETA known. So there are two ways. One is if people on the ground have seen the accident and they report it through the police or the civil administration, or if the pilot has given an emergency call, a mayday call, that's picked up. And thirdly, if he's overdue, the pilot had given a particular ETA and he doesn't get in contact with any of the air traffic services, then overdue action is taken. So we have to, I really don't know how this particular accident was discovered, but this is the SOP. And once an overdue action is initiated, then there are absolute SOP, which is the SAR aircraft, the search and rescue aircraft, the helicopters take off and go to the last known position of the helicopter. If they find a crowd of people, they actually, to the place to land, they ask if they have seen the helicopter flying there. And then they...
Right. That was, of course, former Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur speaking exclusively to India Today. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Also, thank you to my colleague Abhishek Bhalla and Sunilji Bhatt, in fact, who brought us all the latest details that are available as far as this very tragic crash.